The ME grabbed a small sharp instrument and cut down the middle of the black plastic.
Okay. And what did you observe?
I observed a small child in red pajamas, red pajama shirt, red pajama pants, black socks that had the word Skechers in orange across the toes. I also observed a light and blue blanket that had been placed on top of him.
It's amazing. You can see the sorrow in the eyes of the detective who is witnessing this discovery of J.J. Vallow. Heartbreaking, to say the least. Tonight, we're talking about some of the forensic evidence in the Doomsday couple case. We've got two great experts with us, Joseph Scott Morgan, Dr. Lawrence Kobylski. I want to focus now on some of that tape. The ridge detail on the adhesive side of the tape associated with JJ's body for touch trace DNA and swabs of tape areas. Dr. Kobylski, couple things. One, explain this process and how revealing it could be, but also the defense wants this DNA split in half. And I think prosecutors are saying there's not enough. We can't split it in half. Is there any way that you could have two experts in the same lab at the same time, kind of figuring this all out? Does that happen?
Let me address that first. You know, the prosecution always has an obligation to preserve part of the evidence so that a defense expert can do independent testing and come to their own conclusions. Unfortunately, there isn't always a great deal of evidence in a specimen. Sometimes it's very minuscule, and there are times, many times, where a sample has to be completely consumed. When there is going to be a total consumption of evidence, the prosecutor is obligated to inform the defense attorney so that a defense expert can either be present for the testing or videotape the testing. And that is a reasonable approach. There isn't an agreement between the defense expert and the state's expert. They don't decide what to do. It's the prosecutor's evidence, but the defense expert can see exactly what happened, critique the way the testing was done, create difficulties later when the results have to be interpreted. And it's a reasonable thing to do when there isn't a lot of evidence available. Somebody's got to do the testing, and you know, it's got to be even and fair, even-handed, so that the defense has, you know, equal say. But it is the prosecutor's evidence. Now, in terms of taped areas and fingerprints, you know, there's, like I said, duct tape is almost, I would call it ubiquitous. A lot of criminals use duct tape for a lot of different things, one of which is to bind victims, and they often have to handle the duct tape, and they get their fingerprints on the adhesive portion. Sometimes they get it on the other side of the duct tape. But it's a whole process just to work with duct tape. To get fingerprints, you know, there's a variety of methods. Dusting, we're all familiar with using fingerprint powders of different colors, depending upon the contrast. You want to create a contrast so you could see the ridge endings.
Let me ask you this, though. When you're dealing with fingerprints and trying to get DNA at the same time from the same samples, can you do that? Or do you have to make a choice, fingerprint or DNA?
That's a very, very good question. You go with the gold standard, I think. You know, the one that is more likely to give you identifying results. And if you see that the ridge endings, the pattern of the endings are not pristine, they're smudged, they're not going to give you a result, you go with the DNA. I mean, sometimes you can't do everything, but DNA is just such a powerful technology. And you could swab the area and extract DNA from that, and it should be pretty much preserved. And I think that's the way to go.
All right, Joseph Scott Morgan, we only have about 30 seconds here, but swabs from J.J. Vallow's fingernails obtained during the autopsy, do you think if you get a result from there, that is our killer?
Well, if he's in the presence of these people anyway, it's, you know, that's a more difficult sell. However, if you find things like skin cells that are kind of curled beneath the leading edge of the fingernails, that's going to be significant. At post, one of the things we do is actually do what are called nail scrapings and nail clippings, and all of that is preserved. The question is, when they hauled this guy in and they got all of this, you know, they decided to do this, did they examine him at all for any kind of scratch marks on him? Because that gives you an indication. It's almost like if you think about a farmer taking a plow and going over an unplowed field, it leaves these kind of furrows, and sometimes they're very faint. Can you match that up? And anything that they can recover, any kind of biological sample from beneath his fingernails is going to be significant.
Joseph Scott Morgan, Dr. Lawrence Kobylinski, together on the same show at the same time. This is amazing. Thank you both so much. We'll see you really, really soon. Great to see you.